Hey guys, welcome to another episode of What's in the Fridge. And as you can see, my fridge looks quite empty today, except for condiments and empty drink boxes, which is pretty funny. But I'm gonna look through there, we're gonna pick some ingredients out, and we're gonna make something. Hopefully it turns out delicious. Alright, so I looked in my fridge, and this is what I came up with today. So we had wraps, which is funny because there's like literally nothing to put in the wraps. We had a little bit of broccoli, some onion, some yellow pepper, some Parmesan cheese that I used for some pasta the other night, but I didn't finish it. Some kind of like a vegetable medley, like you'd put it in salads. There's like cabbage, lettuce, carrots, whatever in there. There's only a little bit left of that. And then some jarred hot peppers that's in the spoon there that you see. I'll show you what I'm going to do with that later. Obviously some olive oil and salt, pepper, and various spices. Now the spices don't really matter. You can get really creative with those. Whatever you prefer. Whatever your palate likes. And then some cornstarch just in case, because I'm going to be putting all this into a wrap. And if it's too runny, the liquids are going to run out of the wrap. You can drain the liquids, but the liquid is going to be the flavor in this dish. So I want to keep it in there, so I'll thicken it up so it stays in the wrap a little better. The other things I'll need for this dish are a frying pan and then a double boiler, because I'm going to be steaming the vegetables to make sure the nutrients and the vitamins stay, because when you boil your veggies, the nutrients and the vitamins get kind of drawn out and they stay in the water. But if you steam them, you have, the nutrients stay in the veggies, and it's a lot healthier for you. Anyway, I'm going to start cooking and I'll show you the process. I'll be right back. The first thing I've done is I've chopped up the veggies to be steamed. I got my trusty little cutting board, and I got a wet cloth underneath so it doesn't slide around. And I got a nice sharp knife. So I'm going to take these and I'm going to put them into the double boiler. And I got high heat because I want them to steam pretty quick, because afterwards we're going to be frying them. And I'll show you all that. So first, I'm going to go ahead and throw these in the double boiler. Alright, so the veggies are in the double boiler. As you can see, I got water in the bottom pot. The top pot has little holes so let the steam come through. I'm going to cover it so it cooks thoroughly. And it'll be about 5 minutes, but I would just check with a fork. And when the broccoli is nice and tender and the fork pierces right through, then you know you're good. And then you can start with the next step. Alright, so while the veggies are steaming, I decided to dice up the onions and slice up the garlic. Now I'm leaving the garlic in big chunks like this because what I want the garlic to flavor the olive oil, because the olive oil is going to be the sauce for this dish. And so I'll show you that process in just a sec, but we're just going to give the veggies time to steam because everything's going to, have to be put together. I've taken the double boiler off the heat and I'm letting the broccoli cool down and the yellow peppers. I have put some olive oil in the pan, and I put about a tablespoon and a half. I want to just cover the pan completely, like the bottom. That's important for this dish because I used a little more olive oil than I would, only because the olive oil is going to be the sauce and the flavor. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it up to medium heat, and then I'm going to take the garlic and I'm going to put the garlic first. So I'll do that now. Now since I only have one hand here, I'm going to put down the camera for just a sec. Alright, so the garlic is now in the pan, and I'm going to give the garlic some time to saute, and just right before it turns brown. That's important here. Right before it turns brown and it starts to release its flavors, because remember, we're flavoring the olive oil. That's the important thing about this dish. We're flavoring the olive oil, and then we're thickening the olive oil to make a sauce. So once that kind of starts to happen, I'll be back and I'll show you what it looks like. Now the garlic started to bubble, so at this point I added the onion so we can further flavor this olive oil, and the onion will also release its own oils, which will be yummy and tasty. I'm going to wait till the onions are nice and translucent and the garlic is a little bit browned, or just before it's browned, and then we're going to add the broccoli, the pepper, and some of the rest of the ingredients and spices. So I'm going to let this cook down a bit, and then I'll show you what it looks like when the olive oil should be nice and flavored. I don't know about you guys, but I love the smell of garlic and onions cooking. It's just freaking fantastic. And if you don't like any of the ingredients that I've used in this video, remember, this whole series is about you being creative. So if you don't have onions on hand, you know, or white onions, throw in green onions or throw in a different vegetable, whatever you have on hand. I'm just showing you some examples, so maybe this gives you an idea in your own kitchen, and you know, whatever you have left over you can throw together and see what works. And let me know if you find something awesome that worked, because I'm also curious. You can always learn something new in the kitchen. Anyway, so everything is you know, everything is frying the way it should be. The onions are pretty translucent. The garlic is just about to turn brown. So now is when we can start adding our seasonings. And so for me, I'm adding salt, pepper, parsley, oregano, and a little bit of onion powder and garlic powder. And then I'm going to be adding some spicy canned hot peppers that my family makes. But you can, you know, any spicy hot pepper is fine, or whatever, you know, whatever spices and herbs that you have on hand is fine too. So I'm gonna go ahead and add that stuff, and I'll be right back. Spices, herbs, and seasonings have been added. As you can see little specks in there. Now what I'm going to do is take the vegetables that I have steamed, and I gave the broccoli a bit more of a chop to make it a little smaller, you know, bits of pieces so everything can incorporate. And then go ahead and add that and just make sure everything combines well. I'm doing this with one hand, so you may see some spillage. Oh, there's a little bit of spillage, and that's okay because we can just pick that up and throw it back in. Oh, there's a little bit over here. All right. Now I'm just gonna stir, combine everything. Hear that sound? That's a great sound. Okay, now I'm gonna let everything cook down here, and then I'll be back to tell you the next step. Alright, everything looks great. As you can see, there's a little bit of liquid at the bottom there. Now we're going to thicken that liquid up, first of all, by adding some of that Parmesan cheese that I had left over. And so we'll kind of add that now. Throw that in. There's a few chunks, but we'll mix that in. Then, if it still seems a little bit thick, if it still seems a little too thin, what I'll do is I'll add a little bit of cornstarch. And what I did is I mixed the cornstarch with some of the water that I had, that I used to steam the veggies. And here's the mixture, you know, equal parts cornstarch and water. And you know, that water, since it steamed the veggies, will have some flavor in it. And it looks like there's still some liquid that needs to be thickened up, and you know, I wanna make a little bit of a sauce. So what I'll do, and remember, when you're thickening something, whatever, that happens. Not a professional chef. Anyway, when you're thickening something, always remove it from the heat so that you don't burn the cornstarch. So then you can put it back on the heat and start mixing up. I'll be back when that's done, and the final product will be ready. Now, one last step here. I've turned the heat off, but the element's still hot, and what I'm gonna do is add that veggie medley, because I don't really want this stuff to cook super thoroughly. I want there to be kind of a fresh element, but I still want it to heat up. So I'm gonna add that veggie medley into here, and it should be hot enough to where it'll warm it up, but not completely cook it. Because I want the carrots and that veggie medley to kind of have a crunch to it. And after that, I'll show you what it looks like plated. Now, like I said earlier in the video, I'm going to be putting all this into a wrap. Here's what it looks like finished. It's nice, colorful, lots of green, some purples, yellows, oranges. It smells delicious, and I tasted some of it. Remember, always taste your food, just in case it needs more seasoning. Tastes fantastic. This dish makes a really great pasta sauce. I would just make it a little thinner than I did today. I thickened it up because I'm putting it into a wrap, and I don't want anything, any liquids to fall out, and but in a pasta sauce you can make it a little bit thinner, just so you have some sauce and you can dip your pasta in it, whatever. And I've made a similar dish before. I just didn't add all the veggies. Usually the pasta sauce is just broccoli, onions, and garlic and olive oil, and it turns out fantastic. Just a little bit of Parmesan cheese. Anyway, so I'm gonna wrap this up and plate it, and I'll be back. All right, here's the finished and plated product. Now you notice how everything is staying in the wrap pretty well. It's because of the cornstarch, and it's because I thickened the sauce. Now if it was a little thinner, things would be falling out. There's a lot of veggies, and it'd be kind of hard to eat. And I even tested it out, and I put it upside down as if I were to dip something, or dip the wrap into something, and it held up pretty great. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to eat this with a little bit of sriracha. You can use whatever you want. The sauce itself in there, the olive oil sauce, is good by itself. I just like things a little more spicy. So I'm going to use sriracha for this. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I had fun making it, and now I'm going to get to eat it. Thanks again.